I was asked in one of the 3 interviews I just gave before I got here when my life changed. Well, my life changed when I was either going to go to jail or go in the Army. It was a pretty easy decision for me. And I volunteered for the draft at the height of the Vietnam War, 1966. And when I got in there, I was super smart. They said, did you want to be an officer? And I had to extend my length in the military 2 or 3 years. I said yes. And then I got awards because I was super smart. And most of the colonels and generals were dipshits. They were still fighting the Second World War, basically. And so I'm getting an award by this general right here, Woodrow Vaughn, God love him. We're at an event. I just got that award. And he says, Danny, you should buy the drinks. You just got an award. So I'm buying the drinks, and I said, well, the award's not for very much, General. And then he said to me words that I still get chilled when I say it. A smart young man like you could get rich in the civilian world. A light bulb went off over my head. I can still feel the tingling of it. Danny, rich, civilian world. And I was a regular Army officer. I was there for life. I was out of the Army in 6.5 months. And the rest is history. In later conversations, if you can do this to an army that's not going to change, like the Catholic Church, if you can evoke change here, you can evoke change anywhere. And I did. I made a gazillion, but more importantly, I created many gazillions for meatheads. At least 1 million millionaires. That's the other general, Roy Atterbury, who I reported directly to. And in these days, you could still hit people in the military. Kick them, spit on them. He used to say, Peña, you're a Mexican wetback. This man's army has stooped to its lowest point for you to be an officer. Now you'd cry. Do you realize 80%, this is an American statistic, 80% of employees cry weekly. 80. And they say he liked you, Dan. He was an old racist from Texas. And then there's Roy Atterbury. Follow one course until it's successful. One of the biggest mistakes young kids when they get out of school, they try too many things at the same time. Stay focused on one thing till it fails or successful. If it fails, you move on. The old adage from Silicon Valley, fail often and fast, or whatever it is bullshit. None of them do it. Because the people that you're looking up to in Silicon Valley don't do it, so then you don't do it. I had my first Rolls Royce when I was 24. 24. Could I afford it? No. Was it a magnet for chicks? I've got stories about that backseat of that Rolls that, that we ought to make a movie about. But my sales manager, a guy named Kelly Norwood, a racist bigot from Tennessee, says, Peña, a boy like you ought to sell every motherfucker that comes through the door, 100%. My sales closing ratio was 94.6. He says, but you got to have a magnet for these fucking morons. And you have 2 times to make a first impression. One, when they first see you, when you drive up in, and then when you open your mouth. Most in this room fall short when you open your mouth because your communication skills are shit. So I got this, and I had the gift of gab. I could sell anybody anything. I made $1 gazillion. $1 gazillion. And I've been driving Rollses ever since. Currently, our family's a 3 Rolls family. Now, I had high goals when I was your age. I expected to be on Mount Rushmore. George Washington, Tom Jefferson, Roosevelt, Lincoln, and me. And then I expected to be Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and me. Now, I know nobody in this room has goals like that. So what gave me the craziness or the balls to think of myself like that? Because I had self-esteem. I thought of myself, this is an award-winning picture of the portraits that won a big award in 1987. It went around the world. I thought of myself before, looking like that, before I had that painted. A country gentleman living in a castle. There's my lovely wife and myself. And we just, people think we just go from party to party, cocktail, champagne, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's not exactly how it is. But people want to believe that, so let them believe that. Because perception is reality. None of the kids live at home, thank God, for small favors. But we have 5 dogs, which if our dogs live better than everybody in this room. Believe me. 3 bulldogs and 2 Great Danes. There's our humble abode with our 3 cars. But when our children are home, it's just home. It's not the 65 rooms. It's not the 156 acres. It's not because that's how they were raised. That's their social and economic milieu. That's their background. They see no different. What they want is to have all that and not earn it. That's not happening. We're giving all our money away. They don't get 10 cents. Now, just think about this. All the kids are adults, grown up. They all say, oh, we're cool with that, Dad. Now, I know they're not cool with it. Because we're talking about a lot of fucking money that you're going to get none of. When our daughter turned 16, the girl across the street, you get a car, you can drive in America at 16. She got a Learjet for her 16th birthday. The girl that got across the street. So that's the environment they were raised in. Now, do you think it's an accident that Guthrie Castle Estate and Carnegie's estate, who I've patterned my whole life, financial life around, are similar? Do you think that happened by accident? Sally took me for my 75th birthday to the Carnegie Skibo Castle, which I once almost bought many years ago. It's a whole other story. Our estate is nicer. But just like it's been, well, until I bought it in '84, it was one of my goals and affirmations. And when you make enough money to change the world through you, I have to live vicariously through you, you can do some special things. Sally and I visited both poles. I could give a lecture for a week about climate change, but I'm not going to. But Sally and I were there. We renewed our vows. We've renewed our vows and been married 7 times. If you say climate change in the North and South Pole, they laugh. That's all I'm going to go into it. They laugh. They laugh. They're not really secrets. I've always been interested, not the why. You want to know the why, because you have low self-esteem, lack of self-confidence. All I want to know is the how. I'm not interested in why. As long as it's legal, moral, and ethical. Wanted to be effective and not liked. I've never cared if anybody liked me, except for the few girls I hustled in my youth. And I wanted them to more than like me, but other than that, I want to be effective. I want to be the top salesman, the top this, the top this, the top that. And as long as it was legal, moral, and ethical, I got it done. Back in my day, they used to say, sticks and stones can break your bones, but words can never hurt you. Now it's just the opposite. I can hurt your feelings with words. I can hurt your feeling with words. Shouldn't be that way. And God forbid I hit you. I'm toned down now at almost 80. The kids that were interviewing me today were between, I think, 35 and 45. No, one was 55. I eat people, and some of them are in the room. I mean, I brush my teeth with stronger shit than they have. And last but not least, a fear, false expectations appearing real. Unfortunately, fear works. It's the primary, best motivator there ever will be, and that's wrong. But it's the truth. That's wrong. If I took some man that's got 2 or 3 kids, little rugrats, and I put a gun in one of his mouth and I said, you got 72 hours to accomplish such and such. You would do everything, including moving mountains, or I'm going to blow the little fuckhead's head off. You would do everything to save the kid. Every day to me is my last Super Bowl. Every day to me is my last 2 minutes of my last Super Bowl, or the last 2 minutes of my last World Cup. Every single day. For those of you that have seen my website, I run towards the gunfire. I always have. I'm not afraid of anything. I have to be a little more careful now because I'm not as agile at 80 as I once was, but I'm seriously not afraid of anything. I've been run over by a buffalo, all kinds of stuff I've done that's crazy. I should be dead, but I'm not. The church says, because you were destined, these are my words, not theirs, to resurrect the meatheads. That's what the church says. I'm destined to resurrect the meatheads. And I say, Sister Luce, Mother Superior, can't we have in 30 years, the meatheads are getting lower quality, not higher quality. For more than 31 years, I've been the Leonidas of financial coaching. And I take no prisoners. I take no prisoners. And the big guys that we've alluded to, and some of the guys that you revere, I'll tell you a story about Warren Buffett. He's 94, I guess, now. And about 20 years ago, his granddaughter was on, there used to be a program on CBS television, 60 Minutes. Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening program started at 6 till 7, 1 hour. And his granddaughter got up there and told the real story about Warren, the real Warren, that most of us know. Ruthless businessman, and this and that and the other thing. Now, the program ended at 7 o'clock Sunday evening. By noon, Tuesday, every person on that side of the family was disinherited. From 7 o'clock Sunday evening till noon Tuesday, every swinging dick, as they used to say in the military, was disinherited on that side of the family that she was from. You're in Palm Beach, picking your nose, and you find out and you read in the newspapers Tuesday, the $7 or $8 million, it's gone. Those are the guys I know. And virtually all of us, myself included, towards the end of our lives, do foundations and trusts and stuff like that, trying to buy our way to heaven if there is a heaven. Emotionally and financially and physically, I took no prisoners. Now, that's me. Some people call me the bionic man because I have all those parts artificial. And it's not easy to walk sometimes, especially in the cold, or to keep my balance when I slip like a rainy, the cement's slippery, but somehow I get by. But most people my age would just allow those things to wither and suffer. I had them replaced. And when the pill comes out in the next 10, 20 years, which I'll still be strong and healthy, I'll write a big check for life eternal. No question. You don't have to go to number 2 on that list, boy. Just call my banker, Coots. You know why you want to be liked, don't you? Because your parents wanted to be liked. Occasionally, some of you are lucky enough to have a real shit-ass for a father, but he wasn't home enough to really make you accountable. This is 99% of the high-performance people that walk on the planet today. You have to measure it. You have to measure expectations. You want to live respected and you want to die regretted. I'm not so sure so many people are going to regret me, to be all you can be, because this way of life of high performance is a full-time deal. It's whatever you do. When I get up in the morning, I'm the same. When my high performance people, some of you are in the audience, you kept your hand down low, get up in the morning, they're the same. We have a 70% divorce rate, couples, 70%. We have a 60% split up business partnership rate. We'll see how supportive your wife is when you miss your birthday, when you miss your Valentine's Day, when you miss your daughter's Sweet 16, whatever they have at Sweet 16. I missed them all. If I gave flowers to somebody, fuck, Dan must have cancer. Caleb gives you the choice to die financially standing like a man or a woman. I only added woman recently. Man or a woman, or continue to die on your financial knees, living a quiet life of desperation as your parents did. Most of you have lived and will continue to live, unfortunately, because I won't be able to flip you, quiet lives of desperation. Quiet lives of desperation. Once in a while, when I speak at a big school like Oxford or University of Pennsylvania, I have a Nobel laureate in the audience. And he comes up afterward to introduce himself and says, Mr. Peña, I invented it. Oh, congratulations, And how many were in the audience? 700. One? Okay, that's about right. But if you don't like the way the world is, do something about it. Today I'm not going to teach you, but lead you based on my 50 years experience coaching, mentoring kids to be more than they ever dreamt they could be. Super high performance in anything. Success leaves clues. Now, you probably know this, 50% of you are going to die without enough money to retire. Or, retire without enough money and then die without enough money. That's just the stats. The most successful teams swear. Study after study, they swear. They say bad words. The most successful teams on the planet, scientific, you name it, swear. They use four-letter words. Are they all four? They're not all four-letter, but they use four-letter words because they're more effective. Harvard researchers identify a major cause of loneliness. Negative feelings growing up. Don't know how to make friends. I've got 2 or 3 friends. They've been the same friends for 60, 70 years. They were on that yacht with us a few weeks ago. Now, one of the favorite terms for the youth of today, I'm working on it. You've heard that, right? I never heard Steve Jobs tell me one time, I'm working on it, Dan. I never heard Elon Musk tell me, I'm working on it. Why are you working on it? That's the universal excuse. I'm working on it. I think I mentioned that. Watch as a woman got raped. Why? In 1986, a woman's handshake, was about 91 pounds pressure. In 2016, a woman's handshake was about 104 pounds. In 1986, a man's handshake was 111 pounds. In 2016, a man's handshake was 106 pounds. Male sperm counts are down around the world, especially in Asian countries. No lead in your pencil. I told you about crying on the job. The challenge is millennials are going to inherit $40 trillion over the next 40 years. Where's it going to go? In my opinion, down the toilet. When Sally and I donate money, we ask to see their financials first. You're the Red Cross, let me see your financials. You're this, let me see your financials. Nobody asks for financials, except us. St. Teresa, 98.5% of the money goes to the kids. They don't have cell phones, cars, anything, TVs, etc. About 7 or 8 years ago, I sent one of our security guys in Manila around to the St. Teresa convent, and he wanted to take the measurements of the nuns for new habits, you know, the things they wear. And Sister Gloriosa said, well, why does he want our measurements? That sounds odd. He says, because it's a secret, but he's going to give all the nuns new habits. Sister Gloriosa said, no, God will give us. So Jack, who's our head security guy there, well, isn't God sending Mr. Peña to do this? He says, no, when Sister Ann dies, I will take her habit. When Sister Mary dies, Sister Lucy will take her habit. So, and they're all holy and moth-eaten, etc. But almost all the money goes to the kid. Holy Family, the other one we support there, about 90% of the money goes to the kids. You don't need golf tournaments. You don't need big dinner, gala balls, if you want the money to go to who's supposed to receive the money. $76 of a billionaire, about 20 to 93. Now, misery has a way of clarifying one's conviction. Now, see, you as an audience, you look too slappy happy to me. Life can't be that good for you. And if you think life's good for you, something's fucked up. You have low expectations based on low self-esteem and a lack of self-confidence. Although, as my wife pointed out to one of the people that was guiding us around today, Warsaw looks a lot better than it did 7 years ago. It does. Now, perception is reality, so we think it's better, but is it real? Only you can tell me, for those of you that were around 7 years ago. Self-confidence, mature and nurture. Is self-confidence something that you were born with, or is it taught and developed? It's taught and developed, and most of your parents don't have any. You have low forms, and the bar was set low for you, i.e., it turned you out. You pissed a lot of people off. What did you do? I told them the fucking truth. I got fired at Arizona State University about 25 years ago, giving a lecture like this. And I looked up, and the dean of the School of Business was sitting up there in the rafters. And they didn't renew my contract, not that they were paying me. And I said, and you call yourself a school of business. Most of the schools, not just business, but the most legitimate universities are the music and art schools. They're the most legitimate. Now, but I'm not teaching you to be in the top 2%. I'm talking about the top 0.2%. I mean, if somebody calls me average, I punch him in the face. That's probably the biggest insult that you can give me. I'm a lot of things, but I'm not average. I had a dream. It looked like that, but it turned out like that. Close enough for government work. How's that possible? You saw my first house, standing in front of it with the guns on my hips. From the time the guns on my hips, so let's say that was 1950, to the time I moved into the castle in 1980, 34 years. From the guns on my hips to that. Strange times are these in which we live when old and young are taught falsehoods in school, and the person that dares to tell the truth is called at once a lunatic and fool. Plato, a little before my time. There is no such thing as work-life balance. There are work-life choices, and they have consequences. Jack Welch, he says it better than I, and this is what you've lived with all your life. You got a dream, for those of you that dream. You've got pessimists, rejection, friends, haters, relatives, society, fear, guilt, doubt, the boss. No wonder you never get there. You should be happy with what you have. Play it safe. You've changed. In most of your life, that's dinosaur shit. You've been loaded down with a lot of shit. Or as they say in Scotland, shite. How do you say shit in Polish? Well, you've been have that. Kids are not programmed for success, but some kids are. Kobe Bryant's daughter, who died, unfortunately, way too young, she was on her way to being a superstar because he trained her just like his father trained him. My 16-year-old phenom, $53 million media deal, television deal in Atlanta, Georgia, a couple years ago. That's right, KGB. You tell your fucking podcast guys to stick that up their ass. How is this possible? Father, super high performance, and I got a hold of him when he was 13. Josh Kim, got a hold of him when he was just turning 17. So what made me special? Other than I got a big mouth. My parents did these things after reading the book by Spock, which on child rearing, which I'll recommend you get. Number one, I took dancing lessons in the hood. Taking dancing lessons, where I grew up, to say it was unpopular would be a biblical proportion how understated that is. Second thing I did, I took golf lessons. No golf courses. My mother used to drive me to the Wilson Park and take free golf lessons. Third thing I did is take tennis lessons. Nobody in the hood played golf and tennis. And nobody in the hood, ballroom dance, played golf and tennis. Fortunately, I was a big kid and I could fight them off when they called me a pussy. I believed in Santa, Easter Bunny, and the Tooth Fairy till I was 10, 11, 12 years old. Got in a lot of fights about that. Spanish is my native language. My parents did not speak it in the house. They didn't want me to have English with a Spanish accent, like all the other illegal immigrants. Benjamin Spock book, and I could only listen to classical music. I could only listen to classical music in the 50s and 60s. Now just imagine if your parents made you do some of these things, if not all of them.